guys, and welcome back to my channel! Welcome to part 2! So, last time we were having an interesting discussion with a few young musicians, dancers and artists to understand how lockdown has affected them and their careers. When we finished off last time, we were discussing how they thought things would be different when orchestras got back together and how that may affect the way the orchestra makes music or ensembles as a unit. So let's jump right back in.
Well, I think I wouldn't say much that isn't already said, if I'm honest, but I think it's just mainly, that sense, like you said, of appreciation for everything. And I think also we'll have this possibly greater sense of awareness of each other around us because I guess in a way we've got used to almost not playing by ourselves, but we haven't been able to play with other people in person for such an extended amount of time now. And I think that once you're suddenly brought into that world again, I feel like there may be a greater sense of awareness of the others around you. And I think that could be really beneficial in chamber music and everything that involves, communicating with one another and being able to express like music together and everything like that.
Good. So my next question, my penultimate question, is has COVID discouraged you in any way from pursuing a career in, if you were in the first place, in your art form, and like why or why not those matters?
I mean, I think I'd say no. I can't say why other than it's not changed the amount I love what I do. Um, it's kind of made me think a little bit about having to be maybe careful about what kind of work I'm doing at the time. Like maybe if something like this were to happen again, I should maybe think about having something that's a little bit more consistent rather than too much freelancing. It's something that's been on my mind, but has definitely not taken my mind away from pursuing a career in music. Yeah.
I suppose in pursuing any career, there's always loads of things to consider about, sustain it, like, income and all of these kind of things, all of these kind of things. But I think for me, one of the biggest things is that I I always encourage people to do what they love and then love what they do. And I think that's so important, not only for everything in life, but also for jobs as well, if you can. And I think that definitely in this time, in this really strange time that we've all been living through, music and everything like that has been something that I have really come to, and it's been something that I've always reached for, and I've loved all the extra time that I've had to practice, and I think that I've just loved every moment that I've been able to indulge in music and all of these kind of things. So I think for me, that passion has only intensified. So I've not I've not thought twice about wanting to pursue a career in music, but I can definitely see why people would, because it's very reasonable and very rational. I mean, right to do so. So
I think oh sorry.
Go ahead, I was just agreeing.
I think for me personally, I'm still like very certain that music is what I want to, do in the future. But I think being in lockdown, because especially as like, like as a singer, and I'm sure as musicians, you guys kind of understand, like, beforehand we were all very, very busy all the time, and going from that to, having still being quite busy, but not in the same kind of way, like being at home all the time. It's kind of, I feel like I've had maybe a bit too much time to think and like think over all the different things. And I think maybe my certainty that that's what I'm doing in the future has maybe been challenged a little bit, because I think, you know, I've actually had time to stop and, you know, think about things and how they work and whatnot. But no, still definitely I'm heading that way. Yeah.
It's very strange because I always thought that I would probably go and study music, but then I decided not to, which was a very big decision to make, and it's been a very strange time because we're doing music and I'm mostly in touch with musicians, and they're the people I love most, and going into this completely new thing. But actually, I've realised that I'm so pleased that in the best possible way, I'm so pleased that I'm going on to study art, because the way that I've kind of existed for the last few months is that I've kind of had practicing and kind of composing and stuff, and then I've had the laundry room where I paint because there's a sink, and to go from that to that, and then to kind of go upstairs, do some writing, and then kind of all these stations which I can go to. And I've realised that actually I really am supposed to be doing art next year, is the best path. So it's been, I guess the whole thing about this time is that we've never before in our lives been able to have so much time to spend with ourselves, which can be, is such a surprising thing, because we just don't. And to have that much time to think about yourself and what you want to do and what you want to say with what you make, and to really explore that and have the time to explore that. So it's been a great time to kind of to learn new pieces that I've never learned, and also to do a heck of a load of painting and to delve into that world. So it's been great and strange, but I am still bittersweetly sad that I'm not doing music next year, because I miss the people, but now I'll be in touch with them. But it's completely the right thing. I'm so excited for new things coming out of this time, and having been at Purcell and having gone to junior college a long time ago. So
But
I am.
you can still like carry on,
Well,
you know.
exactly.
So it's not that you're leaving it all behind, I'm sure.
No, well, it's the beginning, and the music is very important in what I do, and in with the people that I surround myself with. And for instance, this film, which I'm hoping to make over the next few years, is about young people playing music and playing chamber music.
I'm dying
And
to see it, Hugo. I'm really excited. No, you.
well, we'll have to talk more. I won't bore you with that now, but all exciting things.
Awesome, yeah, I have to completely agree there. I've been hearing, and myself as well, I've had sort of an internal conflict with what I want to do. I don't think finance is the most important thing in life, but in terms of surviving and thriving, money is important. And I've seen so many people with different professions being put out of work, and it just makes you think, oh, is this the best way for me to go, because this pandemic could repeat itself, or something else could happen similar that means that if I choose this profession, I'm put out of work. And it sort of makes you think, do you really want to do something you love even though you might not be able to pay your bills, or would you rather be secure? I don't want to say secure and unhappy, because you can be secure and happy, but it just sort of makes you think about all these different avenues and what you want to like do, and if you want to still pursue that, or maybe you don't and stuff, which is it's been a struggle. But yes, the final question I have for you guys then is, what difficulties have you guys faced as a musician during lockdown, and how have you overcome them? I thought we'd end on a positive, hopeful note.
Well, actually, mine is so it's kind of very recent kind of thing that I've started to overcome, which has been nice. But practicing it has been really difficult for me. For the whole, I mean, I started off okay at the start of lockdown, and then it got to a point where I wasn't having lessons with my teacher as much, and some of the online stuff was dying down a bit. I think the thing I found most difficult actually was uh, finding a good practice environment at home, because I spent my school has an amazing music department that there's like loads of practice rooms, and I just having a practice room to yourself, I never realized it before, it makes such a massive difference to the way that to what you get done. And I think if you haven't got a good space that you can work in, that's what I've been finding really difficult to because I could sit down and practice, but I wouldn't get anything valuable out of it. Um, but so my brother left back to London because he's studying in London, and so I've been used for the last week. I've been using his room as a practice room, and it's completely changed my last week. And it's such a small thing I'd never thought about before, but the other thing I've done is I've started scheduling when I'm going to practice, not necessarily for how long, but when, and like having those kind of practice slots during the day has definitely helped to just. I mean, I think someone touched on it earlier. Just having a routine is one thing that as I think I kind of knew it all along, but didn't want to kind of get into that burden of having to stick to a routine. But it does help, and it has helped us last week. So I've been happy to get over that, at least for the last week. I don't know how long this will last, but yeah, that's mine.
I think as well, I don't really know if it answers the question very well, but with, I don't really know how to explain it. With going to, say, for example, college, when you come home, you can, there's almost a distinction between your work life and the point where you can kind of switch off, for want of a better saying. And I think sometimes when you are, it's a lovely environment to be in, but I think sometimes when you're constantly in the same environment, it's very hard to find a distinction between working and then the time where you can rest and switch off from things, because it's, I've found it with other people as well, but it's like a very common thing where, because we're at home all the time, we feel as though we should be working all the time because, oh, I have all this free time, I need to make the most of it. And I think there's almost the slight thing that happens where you aren't giving yourself enough time to recuperate or to rest or to take time off, because I was always told that you should spend as much time away from your instrument as you do with, and practicing away from your instrument as such. I know that sounds weird. I don't really know if I'm making any sense. Please tell me if I'm talking absolute gobbledygook. But I think, yeah, I think just finding a distinction between being able to be at peace with resting, and yeah, I think just little things like that. But I've loved the fact that there's just been so much time, and yeah.
I completely agree. Just what I'd say.
Did it make sense?
Yeah, it did make no. I mean, I think so. So I mean, I think it's like literally the thing with the environment. I think that one of the problems I've come across is that, I mean, so I started off practicing in my bedroom, but the problem with that is that my bedroom is where I sleep. It's where I watch Netflix, and you can't do that. But it was like the only space that, and like other space in the house, like I don't know, the conservatory is like way too hot when we have these like ridiculous British weather that is going all over the place. And it's yeah, I know, I just completely agree. It's finding that right environment where you can kind of separate out your, because I don't know, for me school was definitely like, I don't know, especially for the last year, I've got very focused into, I go to school, get my stuff done, come home. Exactly. And yeah.
Yeah, it's been just very interesting to experiment with practicing at different times of the day, practicing in different rooms. I think I've practiced almost in every single room in the house now, and I've been practicing also. I think someone touched on it as well, with the windows open, annoying the neighbors, no doubt. Yeah, it's been very interesting, and I think it's also been a time, like Hugo said as well, of self-reflection, where you can find out, oh, like what time am I most productive for my practice, what time suits me best to practice, and all of these different kind of things. So yeah.
I found it really hard at that time when school, I don't know about you guys, but with A-levels, when you didn't really know how much to be doing for school and how much for you and how much, because of the lack of the kind of dribble of information that we're all receiving. And I found with practicing as well, which of course is a more personal, separate thing than that. And I found it very easy to kind of work right into the night, and you get to 11 o'clock and think, oh, it's time for a film, but it's 11 o'clock. And it's very hard. It was incredibly hard then to balance, well, it still is, but to balance your own time and kind of timetable things out. And if I'd start painting first thing in the morning, which was wonderful back then, I couldn't stop. And then practicing would happen at 5 in the afternoon, and then by then you're getting it in the evening. So I think the hardest thing about the whole thing was actually saying, no, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to get straight into that and get that done, because I know I found that hardest. And with practicing especially, I think waiting with the Zoom lessons, which my teacher is an incredible man, organisation, but with sorting out lessons on Zoom and everything, and kind of building up to a lesson and having the same feeling as when you're going to a live lesson, which is it's the time in which you're learning and you're excited and you want to take in information, but it's very nerve-wracking. And to do that on the screen and be in your own environment where you're all calm, and then to get straight into that is really hard and really difficult, I found. But then I found I got into I don't know about you guys, but kind of a routine with that. And then I had a few lessons and then said, okay, it's August now, let's stop because it's holiday.
I suppose it's all about balance as well.
Yeah, balance, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. Everything that's been said. You know, it's all right. I also found that kind of building on that. I found that kind of my biggest kind of enemy with, like, you know, practicing and like being productive was just myself, really, because I didn't really have any practical issues, but I found myself going through phases of doing way too much and phases of doing way too little, because when I'm doing it starts off with like a phase of doing way too little, and you sit there the whole time thinking I'm not doing enough and beating yourself up about doing nothing. So then you finally, get yourself in gear and do stuff, but then you can't stop, because as soon as you stop, you feel like, oh, I should be doing something. And no matter how much you do, you never really feel like you've done enough. And then because of that, you overwork yourself, and it just cycle repeats over again. And it's kind of just telling yourself, no, I can stop now, because if I don't, then I'll stop for a lot longer.
I think the best thing though about this whole time, and I don't know about you guys, but as being in the arts and being creative, and you kind of have really high days where you are able to just work and you're making things or practicing, it's all going really well, and then you have really low days and it just doesn't work, and you pick up the violin or the cello or something and it just doesn't work, or you try and paint something and it doesn't want to help you. But I found that actually when you realize we have all these days to do things, going to bed at the end of the day can be really hard if you feel I've achieved nothing this day, I found. But actually it's like, but I've got a tomorrow, and I've got just as much time tomorrow as I had today. And to be able to wake up in the morning and kind of treat it as a completely new slate and have that time and have that space is something which we actually would never have had. And although it's awful what the virus has done and what's happened throughout this period, but actually being at the stage we are, where we're still developing and kind of discovering our worlds and everything, which is hard to have this kind of pause on it. Again, we'll never have this time ever again in our entire lives to have this space to develop. And I feel I've really learned more about myself and have changed in this time, partly because of having the space, but also because of just being able to practice your own craft and your own art in your own environment, which is very rare and special. But I miss people desperately.
I completely agree with all of you guys. You've raised some really interesting topics. I think my biggest thing was when lockdown started, I came straight out of exams and I worked too much, long story short. So for me, recording I really struggled with, because I thrive as a musician by being surrounded with others, especially when performing. There's just something magical about the energy you create when you're playing, and then moments in the music which bring back memories for you with the people around you. And recording is just so different. I don't know what the phrase is. I think it might be the green-eyed monster under the bed or something. But it's sort of like it was like my monster for quite a while, and I'm still learning how to record with that same amount of energy and enthusiasm and imagine, for want of a word, the people around me, and still be as energetic and invested in the music as I would be out of it. So yeah, that sounds very depressing now. I just thought about what I said. I said hopeful. But yes, Yeah, that's it from me though. Thank you all so much for coming. You've
Thank
really inspired.
Thank
Thank
you for having us.
thank you everyone.
you for inviting us.
Great.
It's nice to kind of have a conversation about music because I don't know, it doesn't happen much at the moment if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
nice.
I just felt like there's a lot of scratching of the surface when I went on all these courses and I saw the news of, oh, this profession has changed, oh, this has changed, but nobody actually sat down and said, so, John, what's been going on for you? How has music changed? How has this aspect of you're a doctor? How has it changed? No one's done that I've seen. Maybe I'm not watching the news much because I don't. But with what I've seen on the news, it's not been there. And so I just wanted to hear like from you guys how lockdown has affected you as musicians, singers, and artists, dancers, and anything else you guys do, and what you've learned from lockdown. And I feel like lockdown has been, for me personally, so educational, and to be able to share that with others and discuss it with others, I think is amazing. A massive thank you to Hugo, Enya, Danushka, and Emily for participating in this video. I found it truly educational and inspirational, and I hope it's inspired, motivated, and helped you guys too. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would like to see more discussions and content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week.